Shane Arden was addressing the House. He has 7 minutes remaining to speak should he wish to take it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last night when I was interrupted by the House rising, I'd made the point that there are a number of speeches on the opposite side of the House, on the left-hand side of politics, if you like, that referred to the fact that there have been people, in fact there was one personal speech about people that have suffered hardship in their earlier life through low socioeconomics and poor social policy. And I made the point then, Mr. Speaker, that the left do not have a franchise on this. It is not unique to the left. There are some of us on this side of the House that have also, in our earlier life, experienced low socioeconomics and the effects of that. Mr. Speaker, what I didn't hear during that long debate that led up to the point where I spoke...
Order. I'm sorry to interrupt the member. Can the level of noise please be reduced? I'm trying to hear the member, and there's a lot of activity, a lot of movement. Can I just ask that the tone be lowered? Shane Arden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll speak up. What I didn't hear in that debate was what they were going to do about that, apart from tax higher, spend more, borrow more, and nothing of any substance in terms of how we might turn that socio-economic of the lowest quarter, the bottom quarter, if you like, Mr. Speaker, around. And there is only one way, and that is to develop an economy that has more depth and breadth and has the ability to fund better and more available social policy for those that need it. And that's what this debate is about, Mr. Speaker. It's a debate between the philosophy of the left or the right, and the key government has set out a program going forward which will develop an economy that will deliver those social policies we all desire. I draw the analogy, Mr. Speaker, with farming. In farming, there are times when you have good times, there are times when you have bad times. In the good times, you must invest. There is a time to invest. You must invest in the growth of the business that you are involved in. When times get tough, which happens on a regular cycle, then you must consolidate. You must look to where you can improve your efficiencies, look to where you can make some savings, look to pay off some debt. And, Mr. Speaker, it is no different for government. The reality of the last 9 years of the Labor government was that we were in good economic times. And what did we do? We squandered, in most cases, the opportunities to develop a backbone, a framework that could drive the economy forward. So the John Key-led government is setting out on a path of looking at where we can find further efficiencies in government assistance, government agencies, government departments. We are looking at ways of where we can encourage investment in development and exports. We're looking at ways and where we can improve our infrastructure, our telecommunications and roading infrastructure, rail and other such. And, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the figures, if you add up the figures and look at what's been achieved so far, you will see that the turnaround in the 2 years that National has been in government is nothing short of astounding. Because, you see, now we do have actually a plan. We do have a blueprint. It's not lurching from one social crisis to another or looking to spend more or tax higher. It's looking to encourage people to invest. It's looking to encourage people to produce more. It's giving incentive to people to want to live in New Zealand, work hard and achieve a prosperous future for themselves, their own families and those of the community. So, Mr. Speaker, there is quite a difference between the direction of this government and the last government. And to listen to the speeches from the other side of the House, you would come to the conclusion that the only thing that Labor has learnt in its 2 years in opposition is that they didn't spend hard enough when they were in government. And so if they were to be given the opportunity to come back into government, they would go straight back into the same trend that they had then, which is to spend more, borrow more, hope that somehow or other someone will find an answer to that problem. And obviously that is an unsustainable path to go down. And it's interesting to hear from the member interjecting at the back. He was the immediate previous speaker to me last night when I spoke, and his whole speech was dedicated to spending more social policy, no opportunity whatsoever, Mr. Speaker, for anything else. So National is the party that can build a brighter future for New Zealand, Mr. Speaker, and that is exactly the path that the John Key government intends to go down. Mr. Speaker, if you look at any other business model that has been attempted in any other kind of structure, governance or private sector around the world, you'll find that when you go down the path of social spending that exceeds that of the ability of the state and of the business community that supports the state to fund that, you see failure. You see inevitable failure. And we actually occupy a space now, in terms of our total debt internationally, that compares with some of those countries that have done that. If you compare us with Australia, of course, after many years of a Conservative government, before the change of government to Labor, you'll find that their economy is stronger. And there is no better comparison to make than one with our neighbours directly across the ditch. And if you listen to the opposition finance spokesman interjecting, I have heard no policy vision from that member yet in terms of how he can see a way forward in growing the New Zealand economy. Nothing whatsoever. All I've seen from that member is that we don't tax the rich enough. We need to tax the rich a bit more. All I've seen is a rerun of policies that failed in the 50s, in the 70s, again in the 2000s, and a regurgitation of the same old spend, hope, borrow, social, and forget about the economic sector. So, Mr. Speaker, the National Government does have a vision for how we can grow the economy.
His time has expired.